All right, up next, you may or may not know these two folks, but they are very important. They're very important people, I think. So please give a warm round of applause to our lovely security folks, Mike and Seth.
Hello, everyone. Hi, PyCon. So my name is Seth Larson. I'm the security developer in residence at the Python Software Foundation, and I have with me.
Hi, I'm Mike Fiedler. I'm the PyPI safety and security engineer at the Python Software Foundation.
Yeah, and we're here to talk to you a little bit about security. So why don't you take it away, Mike?
So we were here last year, and since last year, there's been a whole lot of stuff, and we have 15 minutes, so we are not going to cover everything. I'm going to cover a few things that, from the PyPI perspective. I'll go through the attacks that have been evolving, the secrets concepts, and an audit that we passed. Yay. So attacks are moving upstream. They are persistent. We get over 900 projects per day. The Fastly numbers that were presented are already out of date. Everything is just going hockey stick up and to the right. We have, since last PyCon, I've processed myself, human processed, over 2,800 malware reports out of the 5,000. The numbers are staggering. There was an exploit for num2 words that gets 300,000 downloads a day, and it is a transitive blast radius issue. People aren't coming after your project, they're coming after upstream from you. So that way you inherit malware. It's getting scary out there. That one particularly is one that was in the Hugging Face Transformers transitive dependency chain, and as we have all seen, AI is kind of ticking up, LLMs are ticking up, so people are going after the juicier targets. LiteLLM, Telnix, Lightning, Xreference, all of these are transitive exploits through other exploits. These were not exploited directly by attackers going after them. They were exploited by attackers going after another system that gave them lateral movement to this other project. LiteLLM had 119,000 or so downloads that were compromised before we were able to quarantine and kind of isolate it from everything else, because about 40 or 50% of those are unpinned dependencies. It's entirely possible. Audit and pin your dependencies. Just do it. Just do it. Yeah. This is a chart of the LiteLLM exposure time for those particular downloads. That was about 2.5 hours. I wake up at about 9 a.m. and check my email and go, oh, crap, we got to do something. If I had slept in, if I didn't check my notifications, if I had a meeting, that exposure would have continued. This is only made possible, the quarantine, the automatic quarantine, through our wide group, narrow but widening group of security researchers and volunteers out there in the community. So thank you all for the work that you do, because together we can do it better than I could or Seth could alone. Thank you. Another aspect is attackers are continuing with this lateral movement. They're going after the secrets between ecosystems. There are lots of companies out there that maintain an SDK in multiple languages in a mono-repo style. So they will develop their JavaScript and their Python dependencies in the same repo, and oftentimes keep secrets to the different publishing platforms in that CI system. That's a juicy target for attackers. They go after that. Here are just a few of the different attacks that have been happening throughout the last year, and kind of you hopefully are familiar with some of these terms. I'm pissed because Shai Hulud is now co-opted for an attack, and I love it in Dune. And it's like, come on. The Singularity one was another hit, right? Again, it's following the transitive dependency path. A lot of people use FastUID on PyPI, and this kind of was inherited in that path. The Shai Hulud, and now they're coining mini Shai Hulud. It's ongoing. These attackers have now made their worm public, and people are issuing pull requests to improve the worm. I mean, that's kind of cool from an open source perspective, but not so cool. The cross-pollination from these ecosystems matter. I mentioned that a lot of people do monorepos and they target multiple languages. Thanks to Alpha Omega and the OpenSF, we've built some channels to discuss emerging threats, collaborate with cross-ecosystem, so that way when one of us gets hit, we can mention here's what that attack looked like, and we can collaborate and try and minimize and be ready for the next wave. So on the topic of secrets, you can't steal what you don't have. We've talked a lot about trusted publishers. It's something that PyPI has been kind of a leader in this industry for, and other ecosystems are adopting it. The trusted publishers protocol basically minimizes the scope of how long a token is live and minimizes the surface it can attack. Hardware keys would have stopped the phishing attack earlier, but trusted publishers minimize that because you don't even have a token for them to go after. The deeper lesson is that any token that survives a single use as a credential can and will be stolen and replayed. Trusted publishing eliminates that particular scope of threat. It's not perfect, it's the best thing we've come up with so far. The token in your CI mints a fresh API token to publish your package. It expires in minutes and is cryptographically bound to that repository, and has the added value of, if you're using the GitHub action, will create provenance and add all of these extra attestations that you can independently verify that all of this path has been secure. And if you are using a different platform, here are some of the platforms we support today. Circle CI is currently in review. If you use GitLab self-managed or GitHub Enterprise for your own systems, hit me up. We've got a beta going. We're trying to figure out the rough edges of these things before we kind of release it to the wild. Here are some of the other ecosystems that have implemented trusted publishing protocols. If you use another package ecosystem that isn't on this list, talk to them. See about what you can do to get that protocol in play and secure the ecosystem, because we don't all just rely on Python. We rely on other packages, on other projects, on other ecosystems. Whether you like it or not, that's the world we live in. So the TLDR here is go home today, figure out one project, delete one token, do something. Start to minimize the surface. The last kind of thing that I want to touch on today is that we've passed our second audit thanks to funding from the Sovereign Tech Agency, performed by Trail of Bits. And because my role is paid for by Alpha Omega, I was here to respond to any findings, remediate them, and we kind of went deeper on this one. There's a full blog post that we produce. We find that, like in anything in security, transparency builds trust, so we want to give you the information of what's happened out there. Most of the findings were low or informational. The two high severity ones are interesting. Both are fixed. When the one that I wanted to call out was an interesting one. When you transferred a project from one party to another, the old organization team's idea permission was transferred silently as well. So nobody had noticed this, nobody had exploited it, but it was still a bug, partially because our organization's feature is relatively new versus our traditional user-based packaging. So they found a really good spot. And the part that I like the best with this audit is that we worked with Trail of Bits. They didn't just find the bugs, they wrote some CodeQL queries to help us add that to our CI/CD to mitigate these from going forward. The full report is public. It's linked on from the PyPI blog. This is what we take security seriously looks like in writing. Don't take my word for it. Check my notes, check your findings, check it all, and tell me if we've got it wrong. Seth?
Thank you so much, Mike. So where Mike is working on malware and exploits and supply chain attacks, I have been focusing my time a lot on software vulnerabilities. This has been my theme of the year. So as we know, and we've known for a few years now, we knew that large language models, I was actually wondering if the chicken was going to go off there. Large language models, we knew that they were going to be applied in combination with traditional security tools to be able to find software vulnerabilities. And we are definitely seeing that now. I'm sure a lot of the open source maintainers around here have a similar graph to the one that I'm about to show, which is this one. So this is the graph of all CVEs that we've published across all the years that I was able to find, all the way back to the very first one for Python and pip. And so the blue bars represent the advisories that were published in that year. And then the yellow line, obviously, it tracks pretty close to the top of the bar, but it's what would extrapolate out because obviously the year is not done yet. So in 2025, we had 21 advisories for Python and pip. And so far, so this graph is a little out of date, so far this year we have 22 advisories published, and you'll notice the year's not over yet. So we're expecting around 65 vulnerabilities published this year. So that is, obviously, that's my personal hockey stick graph. And actually, if you zoom in on the axis there at the very, very bottom, it just so happens, you can't tell on the graph, it's too small, but the number of security engineers at the PSF is also graphed here. Just saying, this is it. There's not 3x or 4x of us. So I also published a white paper kind of digging into some of these vulnerabilities. There were 7 vulnerabilities in CPython, pip, and UV that were specifically about zip and tar archive formats and implementations there. So if a Python package is essentially a zip archive or a tar archive in a trench coat. And so obviously these formats matter quite a bit to the packaging ecosystem. And so these vulnerabilities basically made it so that when a tool looks at a package, one tool will see one thing, another tool will see a different thing. That's really dangerous for security tools. So this white paper was really great because the staffing that we were able to provide made it so we could respond to these vulnerabilities very differently than normal. So we could mitigate at the PyPI level instead of just releasing the fixes, so make sure that users are safe while the fixes are being upgraded. And we could also coordinate with all these different projects. So these projects all know about each other. We know the security teams for each project, and we can coordinate and release the advisory at the exact same time. So I've also been focusing a lot on the Python security response team. So this is the team that gets the security reports when you email security@python.org. We handle everything for Python, pip, and a lot of websites and services that Python uses. And so what we needed to do to be able to handle that hockey stick that we saw earlier is we needed to be able to bring on new people. There were no governance documents in place, and so I took the opportunity to fix that and write PEP 811 and put a governance document in place. How do we add new users? How do we rotate people out? What are the responsibilities and expectations? And so before, this team was very opaque. You don't really know what goes on behind the scenes because obviously we don't want to be talking about vulnerabilities that are not yet fixed in public. But we want people to be able to introspect and look into the team and say, maybe I want to do that. And since this PEP has been published, we've actually added 9 new team members to the Python security response team, which is quite a lot.
Yeah.
So what good are vulnerabilities and more advisories and more fixes if you don't actually even know what software that you all out there are running? So this is where software bill of materials comes in. So I wrote another white paper back in October titled Unmasking Phantom Dependencies and how this work specifically helps the Python ecosystem, which obviously integrates a whole bunch of different packaging ecosystems and softwares. So it's more than just Python on PyPI, surprise. And so the software bill of materials makes it so that it's very easy for your tools to know about vulnerabilities that are not just in Python packages, things like C libraries or Rust libraries or JavaScript libraries. And so since then, I have published a blog post in December kind of giving an update about what the implementation has looked like. And tons and tons of projects, like ecosystems. You can see like Red Hat, Fedora, they've adopted it. Tons of build systems have adopted it. Audit Wheel, Maturin, Meson, and obviously hundreds and hundreds of projects. I haven't gotten the latest count, but the last I heard it was around 300 packages have explicitly added software bill of materials to their package, which is amazing for all of you. So you should be happy about this because it means that your security scanning tools can work better, and you'll be able to know when you need to take action to upgrade your packages. And so, like Mike kind of started off this thing, we only have 15 minutes to talk to you, but we did a whole lot more than just that. So I just kind of put some of these up. I want to just say that my favorite of the moment right now is that new PyCon US security talk track. So that was yesterday all day. Ooh.
Yeah. They liked it.
Could I get a show of hands really quick? Who actually attended one security talk track? Oh, wow. My gosh.
Wow.
Thank you. That is incredible. So I think we should all really feel fortunate that we have so many security experts and teachers in our community. I feel very fortunate about that because I also don't know everything about security. Security is a journey, and we all have a role to play in that journey, and that includes sharing knowledge and bringing others along and helping others. So thank you all for attending, and I'm looking forward to more security in the upcoming year. So this is the part where I remind you that security is not free. Supporting the PSF really does make a material impact in how secure the Python ecosystem can become, especially in these rapid times of development. So obviously supporting the PSF, all the sponsors contribute some to security, but I wanted to highlight these 4 companies here. And so please give a round of applause to these companies. Without them, we would not be up here.
Anthropic, Google, Sovereign Tech Agency, thank you all so much for your support.
So if your company uses a lot of Python, you should consider supporting the Python Software Foundation to help us build a more secure Python ecosystem. And I'll leave you with this. So you don't have to just wait for the next PyCon to see us. I mean, you can follow us and get security news all year round. So the Python Package Index blog and the Python Software Foundation blog are all, we publish a whole bunch of security news and what new security features we're creating. So please follow both of these, and thank you so much, everyone.
Thanks.